Hello everyone, my name is Amatla Godiwala. I am a junior psychotherapist at Breakthrough Counseling. I studied my master's in clinical psychology from SNDT University. And this topic is something that's actually quite close to my heart because I also struggle with a lot of food related issues because I have something called PCOS. So that makes food and dieting and all of this a really muddy matter. So that's why I very strongly like this topic and relate a lot to it because intuitive eating is something that has helped me a lot and it's helped me feel a lot better. So yeah,
Thank you so much. Okay. So cool. I think we're ready to go. So I can see your screen. So whenever you're ready, we'll begin.
I think a few more people are joining.
Yeah, we just got two, three people more join. Yeah, Amatullah, I think we should start.
Okay. Hello everyone. Welcome to the Intuitive Eating Revolution. I hope this workshop helps you transform your relationship with food a little bit better. My name is Avantla Godiwala. I'm a junior psychotherapist at Breakthrough Counseling. Now, before we start, just a few workshop reminders that please either mute your microphone or put something in the chat box if you have any questions. Please do not hesitate to ask me anything. This is open ground and I would love to answer your questions. Secondly, this is a safe space for everyone, so please be kind to each other. Okay, so I'm sure when you first read the topic, intuitive eating, you must wonder, okay, what is intuitive eating? And why am I talking about it? Why is there a whole workshop about it? And why does it work? Intuitive eating is a process where you trust your body to make suitable food choices. These choices can range from eating food that not only makes you feel good, but is also nutritious in nature, while also making sure that you're eating enough quantity so that you don't under or overeat. The reasoning behind intuitive eating is that we're all born with a mechanism that knows how much we are supposed to eat and also how to consume foods that will be good for us. It lets us and it lets us know things like, oh, I'm running low on fuel, so it's time to eat. Or I think I may have eaten a little too much for lunch,
Hey,
so I'm
Amatullah,
just going to stop.
can I stop you for a
Yeah,
bit?
yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think your voice is breaking in between. We could not hear you in last 30 seconds.
Okay,
And
I'm just going to. Is it audible now?
yeah, it's better now, but I
Okay,
think it'll break in between. I'm not so sure.
okay, just a second. Is it better now?
It's better. Yes.
Okay, perfect. So in case, like I was talking about, our body often has this inherent signal that lets us know what we're feeling. If we've eaten too much, if we've eaten too little, or if you need a lot more energy today than usual, maybe you'll keep a snack in between meals. This signal is known as a hunger cue. It's about the trust one has on their bodies and themselves, how they can alter their own expectations about what eating looks like, and how it can create a healthy pattern. Now, we've been exposed to different diets since birth, whether it's seeing the media where every different channel will recommend a different diet for the best results you can have, or seeing different magazines preach what the next big, better diet is. Our idea of the perfect body is shaped by the media and, in some sense, also by our societal expectations. We hear it in our houses too. I mean, it could be overhearing it from a family. It could be in a family function where you see members commenting on someone's body about how proper it is or how perfect their body fits into the beauty standards or how skinny they are or how fat they are. Oftentimes, this pressure to fit into beauty standards causes us to seek out extreme methods because the thought process is I just have to do this one diet for a really small amount of time because then I will look. Fortunately, this is a very never ending cycle. I mean, beauty standards change almost at the Almost at a slap.
Hey, we lost you again in
Again,
like the last 10 seconds. Yeah.
like I was talking about, this entire cycle that keeps going on, oh, I just have to do this diet for a little bit of time and then I will fit into the beauty standard. And like I said, it's a never ending cycle because how much can you keep up with these ever changing trends? Intuitive eating, like the name suggests, is about following what you feel. And following what you feel is the best step forward. It's about choosing to eat what you like, choosing how much you want to eat, and ultimately, it's about the trust you have in yourself. It can feel very liberating. I mean, once you remove your unreasonable restrictions and rigid rules of dieting, like, oh, I can only have so and so amount of grams of carbs today, or I can't eat meals after 7 o'clock, it becomes so much more intuitive to follow. A lot of times we follow a pattern because of the positive feelings it provides to us. This concept is called a positive reinforcement. If you keep feeling good and better following a certain set of rules, you are more likely to do it. Hence, intuitive eating works in that sense because it makes you feel better and it allows you to build a healthier and more positive relationship with eating, with nutrition, and ultimately your body. Now, like I said, the world we live in is a very double edged sword. It gives us a ton of information that is very helpful to us. But at the same time, we are often faced with so much misinformation. So let's bust some myths about intuitive eating. The number one and the most common one I hear is that there is no structure to intuitive eating. Although there are less in intuitive eating, that does not mean there is no structure. Intuitive eating can also encourage a set meal pattern for those whose bodies like the feeling of a structured routine. It can mean having your breakfast, lunch, dinner, along with a snack at a particular time. The only difference is that it's okay if you feel like skipping something in your structure, because that's okay. You are allowed to skip and add whatever you would feel like.
Hey, Amatullah, we'll
The
pause
second
here.
myth I always, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's going back, like it's breaking again. Could you try and move to a better connection? We'll pause for a bit.
yes, yes, of course.
Yes.
Okay. Is it much better now?
I mean, when you start talking, it just goes in between. So I'm not sure what is it? Is it because you're sharing your screen or uh
Okay. Okay, I think I shifted it to another network. You let me know if it happens again.
sure. Cool.
The second myth I hear a lot is that intuitive eating is just another diet. I mean, we are so used to looking at everything from a diet centered lens that it's natural to look at intuitive eating as a diet too. While diets are incredibly strict about what one can eat and what one cannot, intuitive eating focuses more on following the body's natural cravings and feelings. This is a very abstract concept, I understand. But then that also means that there are no restrictions on what you can eat. Third, you don't need to exercise if you follow intuitive eating. Okay, right off the bat, exercising and your diet are two very different sides of the same coin. While they're often seen as a part of the same weight loss activity, it's important to remember that working out isn't just about changing the shape of your body. There are so many physical and mental benefits for exercising that have no relation to your diet. The essence of intuitive eating also includes choosing what exercises make you feel good and what you enjoy. Lastly, intuitive eating encourages you to eat junk food only. I mean, I did say you don't have restrictions. You can eat what you feel like, how much ever you feel like. But that is not what intuitive eating stands for. I get it. Junk food is really delicious. But the important thing to note is that when you give yourself the freedom to eat whatever you want, you are also taking on the responsibility to cater to your body's nutritional needs. And you're also taking on the responsibility to make smart, balanced choices. Intuitive eating doesn't stop you from eating ice cream, but it does encourage you to contemplate on the consequences of eating. For instance, a tub of ice cream a day. I mean, you can ask yourself questions like, why do I need this big of a serving of ice cream every day? Am I eating to cope with my feelings? Is this ice cream fulfilling any nutritional needs? Or am I eating past my hunger cue, like I mentioned before, where I know I'm incredibly full? So am I just eating for the sake of it? Now, when I talk about food, a lot of times it's also important to talk about issues regarding it and concerns regarding food. When I say issues and concerns, it also means disorders regarding food. Now, eating disorders are not a very widely discussed topic in our country,
Hey, we lost
nor
you
is
again.
it, again,
Yeah, just now.
okay, I'm just going to repeat.
Yeah.
Eating disorders are not a very widely discussed topic in our country, nor is there a lot of awareness about it. Diet culture and very rigid beauty standards are such a norm in our society that eating disorders go unnoticed or they're not even taken very seriously, honestly. These conditions have existed throughout the history of mankind, and there are many instances of it present even in the literature of the past. The reason I have included this slide in today's discussion is because it's very important to know what different disorders are, as it not only keeps us informed but can also help us out in way of spotting them not only in yourself but maybe someone close to you. The most commonly known eating disorders are anorexia nervosa, bulimia nervosa, binge eating disorder, and orthorexia. I know those are a lot of words I've thrown at you, but I'll just give you like a very brief understanding of what each of them stand for. Anorexia nervosa affects an individual in a way that causes them to restrict their food intake and have a very severe fear of gaining weight. They may have a warped sense of their own body and even the way they look. While on the other hand, bulimia nervosa affects an individual in a way that causes them to be in a binge, purge, restrict cycle. This means that they may find themselves eating a large amount of food and then engaging in behaviors such as exercising a lot or not eating for days in order to compensate for all the food that they've eaten. That's why the binge, purge, and restrict. Binge eating disorder affects an individual in such a way that it causes them to eat a large amount of food, but they do not restrict themselves, or they do it, or they don't do any activities as a way of compensating for their intake. Now, lastly, orthorexia is something that has come up a lot more in recent times. It's an unhealthy focus on eating in a healthy way. Eating nutritious food is good, but if you have orthorexia, you obsess about eating healthy to an extent where you damage your overall being. It's choosing incredibly organic, healthy options to the extent where you're causing yourself to not eat nutritionally well. Our physical bodies, psychological functioning, cognitive wellness, and choices and behaviors are very deeply intertwined and they are very impactful of one another. On the next slide, I have added a few emotional and physical symptoms that may indicate when an individual is struggling with an eating disorder belief or behaviors. Now, when it comes to the behavioral symptoms, the first is belief, a pattern, or a choice that indicates incredible amount of focus on weight loss, on dieting, on eating patterns, and on food rules. It can also include mood swings. It can include checking in the mirror very often, withdrawing from others, focusing incredibly on their weight, eating alone or hiding food, skipping meals, or having an intense fear of gaining weight. While physical symptoms, on the other hand, include weight fluctuations, now these can be both up and down, severe constipation, low blood pressure, slowed breathing and pulse, feeling lethargic, sluggish, really tired all the time, having really weak hair and really weak nails, having very dry and yellowish skin. And lastly, in the case of women, it often also leads to the loss of their menstrual cycle. Now, I've talked about the disorders and I've talked about how intuitive eating is so different from other methods. But let's look at it from a proper, deeper lens. Like I said before, intuitive eating is not a diet. It is a method that helps you create very realistic goals and also a very healthier relationship with food. But in order to understand intuitive eating better, let's compare it to two methods that I've given you. The first is a keto diet. This is a routine where moderately high protein content in their food to burn off calories. Now, the logic here is if I eat a lot of high fat food, my body eventually will start burning it off because it will only have the fat to burn off. Now, keto obviously works for some people, but it can also have a lot of side effects if not done properly. Not to mention, the cost of buying certain foods is just so much higher. While the other diet is the carnivore diet. Now, this has been popularized a lot on social media, but it's where individuals only eat meat and meat products with no vegetables or fruits to help promote weight loss and to create a very protein rich meal. Again, it may work, but it also comes with so many added costs and issues, as well as so many health problems like cholesterol, diabetes, and so on. The essence of intuitive eating is to consume a mix of different food types and to make sure that it's done in a reasonable manner. Like I said in the start, you're not restricted and you don't have to follow very high and very rigid rules. Now, I've talked so much about intuitive eating, but let's understand the impact that it has on your body. It can have multiple effects. Now, when I did the research for this workshop, I found that one of the essential findings was it helps create a much better relationship with food. It often helps in understanding maladaptive or harmful eating patterns, as well as issues with emotional eating. Emotional eating can often be eating when you are incredibly stressed, incredibly sad, incredibly worried. As per research, it can help create a little less mental burden on your thoughts related to food. And it has been found to have a direct relation with reduction of anxiety and depression. Intuitive eating may not always lead to weight loss. Like I mentioned before, it's not a diet, and hence it may not lead you to losing kilos. However, according to some research done, intuitive eating has led to increase in body satisfaction, self acceptance, and quality of life. Intuitive eating interventions have also shown a decrease in certain behaviors such as binge eating and restricted eating or dieting. Although there needs to be more scientific inquiries about the full extent of intuitive eating, a number of studies have shown improvements in blood pressure and cholesterol. And lastly, when you practice intuitive eating, you learn to honor your body's hunger cues, which in turn help to regulate these hormones. The hormones I'm talking about are called leptin and ghrelin. Research has shown that intuitive eaters have more balanced leptin. Now, leptin is the hormone that tells your brain that it's full. Okay, now I'm done eating, I am satisfied. And ghrelin levels, on the other hand, tell your brain when you're hungry. So this leads to reduction of overeating and emotional eating. One of the most important aspects when it comes to consuming food and eating and following intuitive eating is to be mindful of your eating. Mindfulness is a type of meditation where you focus on being intensely aware of what you're sensing and feeling in the moment without any judgment. Being mindful helps us be present and in the moment, as well as it helps us make better decisions and be more conscious. Mindfulness has a big part in how we consume food. When we multitask, especially during eating food, we don't realize what we're doing, what we're eating, and so on and so forth. So, mindful eating can be practiced in many ways. The first is letting your body catch up with your brain, slowing down, giving yourself space, not having any other distractions is one of the best ways we can get our mind and body to communicate. The body actually sends a satiation signal about 20 minutes after the brain, which is why we often unconsciously overeat. But if we slow down, you can give your body a chance to catch up with your brain and let give your brain the space to catch up with your signals. Secondly, knowing your hunger cues. Too often we eat when our mind tells us to, rather than when our body tells us to. True mindful eating is actually listening deeply to your body's signals for hunger, rather than just eating when we get emotional signals, which may be different for each of us, be it stress, sadness, frustration, loneliness, or boredom. Mindful eating helps you understand and listen to your body. Lastly, understanding why you want to eat. The balance between eating what you want versus eating what is nutritious can be very difficult. However, think back to the first time you tried something nutritious. I mean, raisins, for example. I do not like raisins or kishmish at all. Did they seem appealing before you tried it? For me personally, no. But there are many reasons that eating raisins is such a powerful exercise. And one is that when we slow down and eat healthy foods like raisins, we often enjoy them more than the story we tell ourselves about healthy food. The story, it can be, oh, healthy food is so disgusting. It's not going to be tasty. It's going to be very, very dry, and so on and so forth. But if we practice eating a greater variety of foods, we are less inclined to binge on our comfort foods and more inclined to enjoy healthy foods, ultimately finding many foods mentally and physically satisfying as opposed to a few. Now, I still don't like raisins, but do I mind eating dry fruits? Absolutely not, because I gave myself the chance. Okay, I'm going to practice eating this. I'm going to give myself the space to eat it. And now I think I'm pretty good about it. I've talked about how intuitive eating affects the body, affects the mind, how we can use mindfulness when it comes to equipping intuitive eating in our daily schedule. But let's actually see how we can practice intuitive eating in day to day. Now, practicing a new habit takes time and effort. There are many days you will not be successful, and there are days where you want to give up. But the point is to just try. Here are some principles to include when you practice intuitive eating in your daily life. Number one, rejecting diet mentality. Rejecting the way advertisements may demonize certain food and make something look bad is a step in the right direction. One very important message that I would like to give is that food is not good or bad. Food serves its purpose and it's there to give you energy and to keep you alive. So, understanding that all food serves its purpose and that no food is bad. Second, honoring your hunger. Long time dieting teaches us to ignore our hunger cues. But hunger is a biological response, and you wouldn't ignore your body's other biological responses, would you? You don't try to suppress breathing. You don't try to control how much you blink or your urge to pee. Yet, we often find ourselves ignoring a hunger all the time. Hence, the purpose of intuitive eating is to help you recognize your cues and eat on time. Third, making peace with food. Okay, maybe you haven't eaten bread for years, or you've not eaten after 7 o'clock. This principle asks you to start breaking those rules and letting them go entirely. It's time to start saying I can instead of I could never. But it's very important to be gentle with yourself as you recognize and do away with these very judgmental and guilt ridden thoughts that you may have. Number four, discovering satisfaction. Now, do you often find that you eat what you're supposed to eat, or do you eat what actually will satisfy you? For many of us, it's the first one. I mean, we eat certain things only because it's quote unquote healthy. While eating is a biological requirement, the food you choose should also bring you some choice. Eating is a celebration and it's something to enjoy. So, learning to associate food with satisfaction gives you more motivation and better motivation to practice intuitive eating. Number five is feel your fullness. If principle four is about mental satisfaction, then principle five is about physical satisfaction. Is your body getting what it needs from the food you're eating? Your body gives you signals when it's when it's hungry and full. Checking in with yourself and understanding what your level of fullness can be or is at the moment can be a game changer. And it often stops you from under or overeating. Number six is respecting your body. While diet and exercise do play a big role in the size and shape of your body, there's a lot more to it than that, including your genes. Everybody is different, and we are influenced heavily by a genetic blueprint. We can't diet our way into a body that is not made for us. Intuitive eating recognizes and respects size diversity and the idea that all bodies are worthy of celebration. Now, my last principle for you is movement. If you equate movement with exercise and then exercise causes you to feel dread, you can blame diet culture. I allow you to do that. But there's another way. Rather than exercising to burn calories, this principle recognizes that it just feels good to move. Intuitive eating encourages you to do movements that bring you joy, whether it's going for a walk with a friend or just going around the corner to go buy something, or just because the weather is nice. It doesn't have to be a 1 hour gym session, it can just be 15 minutes of walking around. But the point is, you enjoy while doing something. If you know that running burns more calories, but you can't stand it, just walk. Do something that helps you move around. Now, while I have given you these principles, it's also important to understand that you will face some roadblocks. It's important to also understand that new habits take time to develop. Like I mentioned before, we are all different and we all will face some different type of roadblock when we start practicing this. Some individuals may face hormonal issues such as PCOS or psychological issues such as depression or emotional eating that may affect the way you eat. However, the most important essence of intuitive eating is that you can start again. There are no terms for failure. If you feel that this is something you may be struggling with and you feel that it is beyond your control, please reach out. It could be to friends, to family, to professional help because this is not a problem that you face in isolation. Now, I have a little activity for everyone. So if you do have a pen and paper, that would be helpful. Like I mentioned before, one of the most important elements of intuitive eating is understanding your hunger cues, because your body will send you a signal, okay, you know what, maybe it's time to eat, or maybe I want a little snack. So I have a hunger food scale here. This is a wonderful way to help you recognize how you feel and what you feel about food. It helps you understand if you're eating just because you're bored, or if you're actually hungry and you would like a little bit more food. Again, I'm going to reinstate this. Food is not the enemy here, but our behaviors around it can be very harmful. Hence, using the scale is a great way to check in with yourself and to understand what you feel like. Now, I'm just going to give this precaution now that this is a general guide. It's not a very strict scale, but it can also help you understand your own feelings. Now, you can see that it ranges from 1 to 10. Number one, saying that you are very hungry, your tank is empty. You have difficulty concentrating, you feel faint, you feel dizzy. Whereas if we go to number 5 and 6, you reach a more neutral point. You're neither hungry nor full, or you've just eaten enough to satisfy your hunger cravings. Whereas at the other end of the scale, you have number 10. You are painfully full. That is, you're past the point of comfort and on the verge of being sick, on the verge of being sick. Now, like I said, that there are different scales and different levels to this scale. You can choose whatever scale you feel the best at. Now, if I am working on a day-to-day basis, I like to be on a more satisfied and light level. I don't like to work with a very heavy stomach because it makes me sleepy. So, if I were to check in with myself, I would try to be between 5 and 6. Okay, I'm neither hungry nor full. I'm just in the middle. I have just eaten enough. You can set your own boundaries. You can set your whatever is your own personal aim that you would like to be at. Now, as for now, some people find it helpful to check their fullness an hour or a few hours after eating. For example, checking your hunger 1 to 3 hours after a meal may help you notice some patterns about foods and meals that you find the most filling or satisfying. If you find that eating certain types of food doesn't keep you satisfied for longer, this scale is a very helpful way to understand and maybe change your diet a little bit. See what gives you satisfaction, what makes you happy, and what's more enjoyable to eat. Now, hunger cues are, like I mentioned, are your indications that you are hungry and that you will need to eat soon. But many people come to intuitive eating without understanding what hunger feels like. Because I've often when I explain my clients this scale, they often tell me, but I'm always hungry. That is why this is so important to have, because it tells you, and also diet culture in some very twisted way has messed up our understanding of what hunger is. That's why you can also, if you would like, now that it's around 3 o'clock, so I hope everyone's had their lunch. You can also input your own hunger. You can do this scale right now and see what level that you sit on. Most diets support eating less than the body needs and then using willpower to ignore your increase in appetite. That is why there are some different ways that you may feel hunger or experience hunger when it comes to intuitive eating. So finding your starting and stopping point is very important. So here are some different ways that you might experience or feel hunger when it comes to intuitive eating. If your stomach will feel very empty, your mind is very cloudy, your mood is hangry or hungry and angry at the same time. Your mouth, you're constantly thinking about food. Your energy levels are low and it makes you very sleepy. So when you start identifying these certain types of feelings, that's when you know, okay, maybe this is my starting point. This is the point where I either have my food or I grab a snack. And that is why the scale is very helpful, because when I feel Okay, I feel very ravenous, uncomfortably healthy. I notice what emotions I may be going through. Now, like I said, this will require a little bit of trial and error. And that's okay. It's okay if you've often gone to the point of being very painfully full. Or it's okay you've been unable to judge what your starting or stopping point is. The entire essence of intuitive eating is that it can be molded to whatever you feel like. It can be adjusted to your particular needs. So I hope that this scale is something that you use a lot. And if you would like, you can note some things down, or I will put this on screen. So if you'd like to take a screenshot or something like that. Are there any questions or anything?
I see one on Q&A. Do you need to know how to meditate to be mindful when eating?
Absolutely not. You do not need to know how to meditate. The entire essence of mindfulness is that you take a deep breath and you just stop. It doesn't have to require levels or different types of yoga and things like that. It just means slowing down a little bit, seeing what's around you. That's it.
There's another one. How can I
Mhm.
bring up intuitive eating with gym trainers and nutritionists?
Okay. Now, when it comes to gym training and nutritionists, I understand that they often come from a very knowledgeable point of view, but you can often bring up this point on this is my boundary. I would like to try intuitive eating for a little bit of time, see how it works for me, and try to get them on board because it's a very unexplored topic, but I'm sure many gym trainers also now are getting more aware about intuitive eating and understanding that having strict diet rules doesn't always work out in the best way possible because it can have a very bad rebound effect. So, yeah, I hope that goes well for you. Now, when it comes to the gym trainer part, I had to bring this up to my own trainer because my trainer rightfully did want me to go on a certain diet. But like I said, I struggle with PCOS. And for me, food looks different on every day of the week. So we came up with a midpoint. I would obviously try to restrict certain types or try to drink a little less coffee, but I would still keep my own food rules. I would still make it a point to say, okay, you know what? I felt like eating a little bit more today because I did more work and I was just more tired. So, in that way, starting off that conversation can be difficult, but it is possible. I hope that answer helped you.
Okay, can I give you one more question? I see
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
How do we decide what is a balanced diet and who's the best person to consult on the same?
Now, when it comes to an actual balanced diet, this sounds a little cliche, but oftentimes our ancestors also slightly got it right when it comes to mixing certain amount of rice with gravy, with a little bit of salad, with a little bit of fruit. But in the instance where you would like to take on professional help, a nutritionist or a dietitian is the best way to go because they will help you identify what gaps you may not be eating or what certain types of vitamins you may be lacking. Yeah. Is there anything else?
No, I don't see any now. Oh, okay, I see one more. Is it necessary to be cautious while entering 30s or mid 30s?
Honestly, no. Because as long as, like I said, right, diet culture makes us so scared of doing anything. Oh, if I eat one ice cream, it's going to have a direct effect on my weight and so on. You are just 30. You will just be 30 years old when you're entering your 30s. So that just means that eating what you like, making sure that you're vitamins, and all of those other very important uh, levels are properly maintained. And that's all you need to do. Yeah. Is
Okay.
there anything else?
No, I don't see any question.
Okay. Has everybody gotten an opportunity to write down the scale or just take a picture of it? You can just type yes or no in the chat box. That's okay. I see two questions in Q&A. I don't think I'm able to access it.
Yeah, 1 second.
Yeah.
My metabolism speed is changing.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I don't understand. Someone's written W, is that important? I guess it's Y, is that important, or is that important?
Okay. So metabolism is how your body tends to use up the different food that you eat and gives you energy and so on. Now, for this, I would actually ask you to consult a physician because it's a little outside of my knowledge area, but it's always just best to get it checked out. Yeah.
Okay, and there's one more. How to manage stress and not indulge in overeating.
So, when it comes to stress and eating, the first cue to identify is what exactly is your trigger point. What specific type of stress often leads to your eating pattern? Is it work? Is it education? Is it something in your house? Is it like a relationship issue? Identifying what stressor leads you to engage in overeating habits is very important. Now, once you start identifying a little bit of the stressors part of it, I would like to recommend you to start replacing what you're doing. So when it comes, I'll give you my personal example. I love Oreos. Whenever things would go right or wrong in my life, I would eat Oreos because they're really nice, they're chocolatey, and they're also very cheap to eat. So instead of grabbing another Oreo packet, what I would do is I would try to find something alternate. Okay, I'm not going to go pick up an Oreo packet. I'm going to watch a show instead that I really wanted to watch for a really long time. Or I'm going to engage in another hobby that I wanted to start. Now I started crocheting because of that. Because it kept me, it's very helpful for when I'm stressed because stitching, all of that keeps my hands busy and it makes me feel nice. It's hard. Yes, there have been days where I have eaten my Oreos when I'm very stressed. But once you start with a little bit of an activity, start finding an alternative that also gives you the same amount of relief, it gets easier to replace your patterns because identifying why you are engaging in certain habits is very important. Knowing what causes the stress or what your triggers may be is very, very important. Yeah. Is there anything else?
Yes, one more. If I'm
Hmm.
trying to build muscle and I miss consuming some amount of protein for my daily requirement, I feel I did not accomplish that goal and would
Hmm.
not be serious the next day. How
Hmm.
do I handle this? How to
Okay.
plan my meals and when
Hmm.
to consume more protein?
Now, I can't help you, unfortunately, with actually planning your meals out. But when it comes to feeling that you are not serious about your diet or that you will not be able to maintain it, the first thing I will ask you to do is give yourself a little bit of a leeway. I understand when it comes to building muscles, you are required to eat a certain grams of protein every single day. And I know that some people like to consume protein powders in order to help cover up that gap a little bit, or eat a lot of chicken or a lot of paneer and dal. But in the instances where you are not able to accomplish your certain daily goal, it's very important to remember that one day doesn't define the rest of your days. You miss it for one day in maybe 1 week, that's okay. You still tried for the other six. So giving yourself a little bit of that leeway, little bit of that space to fail will often make you more motivated to complete your goals and also make it easier to stick to your goals. Yeah.
Yeah, all answered. Thank you.
Um, Thank you everyone for listening. You can, my email ID is on screen in case you would like to contact us, and also our website. Thank you so much, Pascal and Pinkasha, for being absolutely wonderful.
Thank you so much, Amatullah. It's wonderful listening to you, and we learn a lot. And
Yes.
really sorry, guys, for failing to put the video of the last session. We are facing some issues in uploading that video. Once that's resolved, we are going to put that and this one super soon. Uh, so yeah, thank you so much. We'll wait for another couple of minutes. If you guys have any questions, any thoughts, feel free to share with Amatullah, and she'll be happy to hear and share her thoughts too. Okay, yeah, I don't see any questions. So cool. Thank you, Matullah, for taking out the time, and see you next time.